Good morning, class 8th. This is your chemistry book. We are doing our chapter number 4th. Okay, we have started it in our previous video. So we are doing our chapter number 4th. I have given you the introduction of the chapter in the previous video. The structure of the atom. Okay, it's the structure of the atom. So we discussed about how the idea of atoms emerged. Okay, you know what is atom? Everything is ultimately made up of the atom. Okay, so it was thought that atoms are indivisible. Okay, so first the Kannada views we have studied. Okay, then the views of Democritus and Leucippus. Okay, and after that we discussed about the Dalton's theory, Dalton's atomic theory, in which he have discussed about the atoms and he have given the 6 points on the basis of atoms. Okay, then we started about the subatomic particles. What are the subatomic particles in an atom? Electrons, protons and neutrons. And then we started the discovery of the electron. How were the electrons discovered? Okay, so we were discussing about the electrons. In electrons we discovered that gases are bad conductors of electricity. Okay, normally the gases are bad conductors of electricity, but how does a gas become a good conductor of electricity? Only by two methods. If the pressure of the gas is very low, okay, and if we are applying the very high voltage to it. Okay, by these two conditions we can make gas a good conductor of electricity. Okay, so these two conditions, they can be achieved in the discharge tube. Okay, so we discussed about the discharge tube, its structure, and about the cathode rays. Okay, so we studied that discharge tube is a long glass tube at the and it is a long glass tube at the two ends of which are sealed two metal plates. Here are two metal plates, and these plates are connected to high voltage source. You can see, look here in the diagram. Okay, then it is connected to a high voltage source. Okay, and these plates, they are known as electrodes. Okay, so there are two electrodes, cathode and anode. The one which is connected to the negative terminal, that is your cathode, and the one which is connected to the positive terminal, that is your anode. Okay, so we discussed about the two electrodes, cathode and anode. Okay, then there is a side tube also which can be connected to an exhaust pump. Okay, why is this exhaust pump? What is the need of this exhaust pump? To lower the pressure of the gas, so that we can make gas a good conductor of electricity. Okay, now what happens when a high voltage is applied across the terminals? We have connected it to the high voltage source. So when we will apply the high voltage to this across the terminal, what will happen? The pressure inside the tube will be very low, that is 0.101 to 0.001 mm of mercury. Okay, so the end of the tube opposite the cathode rays, opposite to the cathode rays, okay, it will start glowing. Now what was happening? This phenomena of glowing, it is known as fluorescence. And what was happening? Some invisible rays, they start coming from the cathode and they fall on the opposite wall of the tube, and thus it causes the fluorescence or the glowing. Okay, so we discussed about it all. Now today we will start our new topic, and our new topic is the characteristics of cathode rays. We will discuss about the characteristics of cathode rays. Okay, so Sir J.J. Thomson and others found that cathode rays have the following characteristics. There are 4 characteristics of the cathode rays, and who discovered it? Sir J.J. Thomson. Okay, Sir J.J. Thomson. You have to memorize. Who discovered the electrons? Sir J.J. Thomson. Okay, and he discovered the 4 characteristics of the cathode rays. So first one, they originate at the cathode and travel in straight lines. The first characteristic of cathode rays are, it will originate at the cathode. We have discussed about the electrode which is connected to the negative terminal, that is your cathode. Okay, so it will originate from the cathode and then it will start traveling in the straight lines. Okay, it will not go like this or this. It will start traveling in straight lines. It will always travel in straight lines. Now, when an object is placed in the path of cathode rays, a shadow of the object falls on the wall opposite the cathode. A shadow can be formed only when the rays travel in a straight line. So what is the proof that cathode rays travels in a straight line? If we place an object in the path of cathode rays. Okay, if we place an object here, the cathode rays are coming, they are traveling in straight lines, and if we place this metal object here, then you will clearly show the shadow of the object. Okay, on the opposite end of the tube you can clearly see the shadow of the metal object, and this proves that the cathode rays travels in the straight line. Okay, so first characteristic is clear to you. Okay, now second one is cathode rays are a stream of particles. They are a clear stream, line of particles. Okay, so a light paddle wheel placed in the path of the cathode rays rotates. This shows that some particles strike the plates of the wheel. So what is the proof to show that cathode rays are a stream of particles? Means particles are coming. You must have noticed in when sun rays are there, you can sometimes see the particles traveling in the air. Okay, so those kinds of particles comes out from the cathode. So cathode rays are also a stream of particles. And how can you prove it? If you keep a light paddle wheel in its way, it will start rotating. Why it is rotating? Because the particles which are coming, the cathode rays which are coming, which are a stream of particles, they are striking the wheel. Okay, they are striking the wheel and it is then rotating it. Okay, so it proves that cathode rays are a stream of particles. Okay, now third one is the particles constituting cathode rays are negatively charged. We discussed about it, that it is connected to the negative terminal of the this tube. Okay, so now the third characteristic is the particles which are constituting the cathode rays, they are negatively charged. Okay, so what is the proof? This is proved by the fact that cathode rays bend towards the positive plate in an electric field. Okay, these cathode rays, they always go towards the positive plate. Okay, you have discussed in this chapter of magnetism that the opposite poles attract. Okay, likewise the negative rays will go towards the positive rays. Okay, so this is proved by the fact that the cathode rays, they will always bend towards the positive plate in the electric field. Okay, they will always go towards the positive field. Now, fourth characteristic is the particles constituting cathode rays are all alike. They do not change with the gas, the electrodes and the kind of the glass used for making the tube. Whatever glass you are using for making the tube, whatever gas is present in the tube, or whatever be the electrodes, the particles which are constituting cathode rays, they are all alike, they are all similar. So they are not going to change according to the gas or according to the material of the glass. Okay, they are not going to change, they are all alike. So these were the four characteristics of cathode rays. Okay, your first characteristic is they originate at the cathode and they travel in straight lines. Then the second one is they are a stream of particles. Cathode rays are a stream of particles. Okay, then third one is the particles constituting cathode rays, they are negatively charged because their plate will always bend towards the positive terminal. Okay, and the fourth one is the particles constituting cathode rays, they are all alike and they do not depend on the glass of the material or the gas or the electrode which are used. Okay, now thus Sir J.J. Thomson concluded that the particles constituting cathode rays are a universal constituent of all atoms. Okay, the particles which are constituting the cathode rays, the particles which are present in the cathode rays, they are a universal constituent of atom. Universal constituent means every atom has those particles. Every atom in the universe, because all the matters are made up of atoms. Okay, so every atom in the universe, they are constituting of those particles of cathode rays. And what are those particles known as? These particles were termed as electrons. Okay, these particles, the negatively charged particles coming out from the cathode rays, they were termed as electrons in 1897 by Sir J.J. Thomson. Okay, now relative charge and mass of the electron. The charge on an electron is taken as the unit of negative charge because it is negatively charged. So it is the charge on the electron, it is always taken as -1. Okay, as a unit negative charge, that is -1 unit. Okay, so the electron is said to have a charge of -1 unit. And the mass of the electron is about 1 upon 1848th of a hydrogen atom, and so it is treated as negligible. If we talk about the mass of the electron in the atom, if we are taking an atom of hydrogen, okay, so it will be 1 upon 1840, 1840th part of that hydrogen atom. It means almost negligible. Okay, so the mass of this electron, it is treated as negligible, okay, because the mass is too small. Okay, so the charge on the electron, it is taken as -1 because it is negatively charged, and the mass of the electron, it is taken as negligible because it is 1 upon 1840th part of hydrogen atom. Understood about the electron? In electron, we discussed about the cathode rays, about the discharge tube, about what happens in the discharge tube, then the characteristics of cathode rays given by Sir J.J. Thomson, and the name electron, okay, and about its charge and the mass. This was all about the electron, okay. Now our next topic comes of proton, okay. The next topic is the proton, okay. So since atom is electrically neutral, both the electrons present in it are negatively charged. Hence the atom must also contain some positively charged particles so that the overall charge on it becomes 0. These particles should be found in the discharge tube itself when cathode rays are formed. Okay, so we have discussed about the electrically neutral atom. Okay, an atom is always electrically neutral. So we discussed about the negatively charged particles in the atom, the electrons. Okay, but if there are some negatively charged particles, so then there will be some positively charged particles also, to make that atom neutral, electrically neutral, okay, so that the overall charge on the electron, the electric charge of the atom should be 0, okay. So these positively charged particles, they should be found in the cathode rays in the discharge tube, just like cathode rays, okay. So now we will discuss about the rays which forms these positively charged particles, okay, and these are anode rays, okay. Cathode rays are negatively charged, whereas anode rays are positively charged, okay. Now Goldstein repeated the cathode ray experiment using a perforated cathode, okay. Now he observed that there was a red glow on the wall opposite to the anode. So some rays must have travelled in the direction opposite to that of the cathode rays, that is from the anode towards the cathode, and these rays were called anode rays or the canal rays as they moved through the perforations or canals in the cathode. See what happened. Goldstein, Sir J.J. Thomson performed the experiment for the discovery of electron, okay, for the cathode rays. But Goldstein, you can underline this word, Goldstein, he repeated the cathode ray experiment, but he used the perforated cathode, okay. So a cathode which were glowing, okay, previously glowing, okay. Now what happened, he observed that there was a red glow on the opposite side of anode also. Okay, on the opposite side of anode there was a red glow. So why this red glow was coming? Okay, so means some of the rays, they were traveling from anode to cathode. We have discussed that the rays travel from cathode to anode, but in this experiment a red glow was found here. So some rays were moving from anode to cathode, and he named these rays as anode rays since they were coming from anode, and he named them also as canal rays. Why canal rays? Because they were moving through the perforations of cathode, okay. Cathode के बीच में से निकल रही थी, so they were moving through the perforations or the canals, so they were termed as canal rays, okay. It was found that these rays contained positively charged particles, and so J.J. Thomson called them positive rays, okay. These anode rays, they were containing positively charged particles, and so Sir J.J. Thomson named the rays positive rays. Now what were the characteristics of anode rays? The characteristics of anode rays were found by carrying out experiments similar to those with cathode rays. They carried out the experiments with cathode rays. Now the following features distinguish anode rays from cathode rays. What is the difference between anode rays and cathode rays? Cathode rays were a stream of negatively charged particles. We have discussed it earlier. Now anode rays are a stream of positively charged particles. There are all positively charged particles in the anode rays, okay, because they bend towards the negative plate in the electric field. If we make them in the electric field, if we bring them in the electric field, they will always bend towards the negative plate. So they are a stream of positively charged particles, okay. Next one was the particles constituting anode rays differ with the gas used in the discharge tube. Here we have discussed the cathode rays, they are independent of the gas used in the discharge tube. They will be all alike and they will not change. But anode rays, the particles constituting the anode rays, they will differ with the gas used in the discharge tube. If we are using a separate gas or a different gas, the particles constituting the anode rays, they will differ, they will change. Okay, this is the difference between cathode rays and anode rays. Now what constitute anode rays? Our next topic is what constitutes the anode rays. So the electrons constituting the cathode rays must come from the atoms of the gas inside the discharge tube. Electrons are negatively charged particles. So the atom must be left with an equivalent amount of positive charge. It is these positively charged particles that constitute the anode rays. So what constitute anode rays? We have discussed that the electrons constituting the cathode rays, they are coming from the atoms of the gas inside the discharge tube. Okay, the negatively charged particles, this is your atom of the gas. Okay, some electrons are coming from the cathode rays in the discharge tube. Okay, now electrons are negatively charged particles. Okay, so atom must be left with an equivalent amount of positive charge. Since we have discussed atom is electrically neutral, so if there are 5 negative charge, so there should be 5 positive charge also to make it neutral or to make it a zero charge. Okay, so these positively charged particles, they constitute the anode rays. Understood? Anode rays consist of the positively charged particles. Okay. Now, as an electron has a negligible mass, the particle A plus will have the same mass as A. So the particles constituting anode rays will differ from gas to gas. Since this electron is having a negligible charge because it is 1 upon 1840th part of the hydrogen atom, we have just discussed. Okay, so it has a negligible part. So all the mass of the atom, it is dependent on this positive charge, okay, positive particle. Okay, so it will differ from gas to gas. When hydrogen, the lightest element, is taken in the discharge tube, the particles constituting the anode rays are called protons. And if we are taking this hydrogen as an atom of the gas, so this positively charged particle, they will be known as protons. Okay, electrons negatively charged and it comes from the cathode rays. Protons positively charged and they come from the anode rays. Okay. Now comes the last topic for today, that is the relative charge and mass of the atom. So like charge on the electron, it is -1. Charge on the proton, it is +1. Okay, because it is positively charged. And mass, the mass of the hydrogen is the same as that of the hydrogen atom. It was 1 electron, the mass of electron was 1 upon 1840th part of the hydrogen atom. It was very low, okay, but it is same as the mass of the hydrogen atom, that is 1 U, and U stands for unified mass, which is the unit of atomic mass. Okay, so proton is about 1840 times heavier than an electron. Okay, 1840 times heavier than an electron because it has the same mass as of the hydrogen atom. This was all about your protons or the positively charged particles. So in this chapter we have discussed about 2 subatomic particles, electrons and protons, the negatively charged particles and the positively charged particles. And in our next video we are going to discuss the 3rd subatomic particles, that is the neutron. Okay, so till that time just watch this video, revise it through your book. Okay, thank you.